Breaking news. Great and wonderful people of Biafra, I say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are watching from. I welcome you to this program, and it is a thing of joy that I am actually breaking this news to you. Of course, you know, Ipob, under the leadership of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, they are working formidably and tirelessly, making sure that our voices are heard across the nations of the world. And that is the reason why we will continue to bring you a breaking news. We will continue to give you a news that will make you very happy, that will make you know that Ipob leadership is working tirelessly to make sure that the pilot or the captain of this boat is, released and joined us as soon as possible. That is the reason why things that is happening. Of course, I know many of you must have not seen this, because it is just a current thing that is just happening. It is something that just happened. The United Nations, they are now coming to the party. First was European Union. I know that this will be the next move, because after European Union, the next is United Nations. And we have this news from a reliable source, actually from a Zoom media. I am going to read it out for you as we proceed with this broadcast. Just pay attention and go nowhere. Share the video, invite other people to join wherever you are watching from. Invite every other person next to you to join us, because this is a thing of joy. It is another testimony. It is another news that you don't want to miss. We are going to that news. Of course, you know that UN writes Nigeria, Kenya over Kanu. Did you hear the headline? But in case if you haven't shared this video, it means that you are the enemy of a very, very important news. You are an enemy of good news. Make sure you share this video across the platform. Share it even in the infiltrators platform, that they may know that we are working. We are not sleeping. And we will continue to work until we get our result. I hope you are seeing the newspaper that broke the news. I hope you are seeing it. So this news came in this morning. It came in this morning. UN writes Nigeria, Kenya over Kanu. One of consequences if torture allegations are confirmed. Once further violation of rights halted. Are you listening? We continue to read. Steve Oko, who wrote this news from Vanguard. The United Nations has issued urgent appeals to both the Nigeria and Kenya government respectively, demanding immediate stoppage of any torture or violation of rights committed against the detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Ipob, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. We are reading. UN also warned of serious consequences if the allegation of torture and violation of fundamental rights against the Ipob leader were confirmed. Of course, it is not. We have a lot of evidence with regards to it, so we are going to present it to the United Nations very soon. The UN intervention followed a petition to the UN by Kanu's brother Kanu and his special counsel, Mr. Aloy Ejimako. UN's urgent appeal to Nigeria and Kenya, according to a statement by Kanu, have been transmitted to both country since August 26 and acknowledgement received from the Nigeria Permanent Mission to the United Nations in New York on the September 17th. Let's continue. The statement made available to Vanguard Tuesday read in part. In particular, the said urgent appeal states in part that the United Nations is alarmed by the alleged torture and the ill treatment Mr. Kanu has been subjected to during his illegal custody, at least in Kenya. At least the United Nations, they recognize that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is undergoing undergone illegal torture and detention in Kenya before this illegal extraordinary rendition to Nigeria, and the torture continues. So we will continue to read the news until when we finish. We will share more light to the news. Now, how? Stop popping up, man. Okay, we have more news we are going to read there. It's further read. It confirmed these allegations would constitute prima facie violation of fundamental human rights, including the right not to be arbitrarily deprived of liberty and the absolute and non-derogable prohibition of torture and other ill treatment under the International Covenant on Political and Civil Rights, ICCPR in bracket. The allegation in the case of Mr. Kanu raised serious violation of international human rights law and may cause irreparable damage to the life of a personal integrity, which we believe warrants prompt attention. In this regard, we are considering to publicly express our concern in this case in the near future, believing that the wider public should be informed about the implication of these allegations for the enjoyment and exercise of human rights in Kenya and Nigeria. Enjoyment and exercise of human rights in Kenya and Nigeria. This is laughable. This is laughable. Enjoyment and exercise of human rights in Kenya and Nigeria. This is indeed laughable. I am going to jot this way down because it is going to be part of the light that we are going to bring into this news. Human rights, Nigeria and Kenya. Hey, we are going to read further. Let's continue reading the news. Just jot this place down because we are going to talk about that place. Now let's read further. Any public expression of concern in this regard will indicate that we have been in contact with Your Excellency's government to clarify the issue in question. Who is the Excellency, please? United Nations, I am appealing to you. There is no excellency in Nigeria. What we have is dictatorship and terrorist organization cabal, because the excellency that you used to know is no longer there. And if you doubt me, conduct a DNA test for you to understand the amount of injustice and the amount of criminality you find in the government that is apprehending and violating the human right of a person. And you will find it that we have been lamenting over this issue. That is the reason why they could not put this issue amongst the bogus 15 count charges they labeled against Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the one we are talking about today. So when we talk about the Excellency, there is nothing about Excellency in Nigeria. It is a point of correction. We will continue to read because I'm enjoying this news. I am enjoying this news. I am enjoying it. Let me find out where we stopped. While awaiting reply, we urge that all necessary interim measure be taken. All necessary interim measure be taken to prevent any irreparable damage. I think I have touched on this, and prevent their reoccurrence. And in the event that the investigation support or suggest the allegation to be correct, to ensure the accountability of any person responsible of the alleged violation. On why Kanu's brother decided to seek UN intervention, the statement said, following the extraordinary rendition of my older brother Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, I undertook a number of urgent steps within the realm of the international community, particularly in Britain and the United Nations. I worked quietly with my brother's special counsels, Aloy Ejimako, and the Bindmans, my brother's lawyers in Britain, on a host of muscular intervention aimed at representing my brother's case to international community and facilitating his unconditional release and bringing culprit of his illegal rendition to account. At least Kanu Takano, now you are doing something, not gossiping. You are doing something. That is in a more to honest. Let's continue reading. These interventions were not made known to the general public because the applicable rules, especially that of the United Nations, require them to be kept confidential for 6 days. Wow. Those 6 days just expired, and the United Nations has therefore made public the details of its urgent appeal to the Nigeria and Kenya government, which were transmitted since 26 August 2021. It also has made public an acknowledgement. It also made public an acknowledgement it received on the 17th September 2021 from the Permanent Mission of Federal Republic of Nigeria to the United Nations. Both documents are attached to this press statement. This was confirming that the acknowledgement of the document and the claim that was, submitted to the United Nations back in 2021 is acknowledged. So we continue to read this news because it is sweeting me better pass. It is important to emphasize that this is just the beginning of more United Nations and other global strong actions that would be seen in coming weeks. While we wait for the such action to unfold, we wish to inform the public that we will remain resolute and relentless in bringing the full weight of the international community to bear on the unconditional release of brother Vanguard. You made mistake there. Of my brother and the leader without further delay. We continue to read Vanguard newspaper. Let's see. I think that is the end of this Vanguard newspaper, but there is a headline that I saw from the beginning of reading this news. One of consequences if torture allegations are confirmed, one further violation. Okay, now we are done reading this news from Vanguard newspaper. Of course, we are done reading this news. Look at it so that you will know where indeed it is coming from Vanguard newspaper. paper is where we've just read this news from. And I want you to know that, you know, I understand that this news, will put Nigeria in a big shock. Because at the end of the day, they believe that we will be continue in the social media space, you know, tackling one another, and because of the infiltrators they have brought in our midst. First of all, let me recognize this move. Let me recognize this move, because as Nkonya me sitonya, Nkonya me tonya. Let me recognize the news and the move. Barrister Aloy Ejimako, the special counsel of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the move with him and the brother of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, in the name of Kanu Takano, the one you know, that is a controversial Kanu Takano, the one who called us recharge card media warriors. He's the one that we are talking about in the news. But at the end of the day, it is a very, very good move. It is a very, very good move. And we acknowledge it. This is what you're supposed to be doing all this while. Instead of sitting around and looking for how to, you know, violate the leadership and their rules. So, it is very, very necessary that our people realize that this news says, it talks about violation of human rights both in Kenya and Nigeria. And now let me remind the United Nations, in case if they have been sleeping and they were not aware, Nigeria, Kenya, they violate human rights activities, which all these things, it is just that in the media outlets that we are using, we are not able to present all these things that we are talking about to the media, because they are going to actually block us off, because what we are going to present to you is very sensitive. Of course, the violation of human rights is something that you see every day going on in Nigeria, because Nigeria is the giant of violation. They are the giant of Africa. They are the giant that violates human rights activities. They suppress and oppress people from discharging their human rights. In case if you are not aware, I believe there are many of American, Europeans that are doing business in Nigeria. You can as well look for individual that is not interested in the politics. Don't look for Catriona Lang because she is compromised. Don't look for American mission in Nigeria because they are compromised. You look for individual that is from Europe, that is from Asia, that is from any other place that is not interested in the Nigeria politics. You will find out all these things because probably they must have come across what is going on in Nigeria, because as long as Nigeria, Kenya is concerned, the move of extraordinary rendition, the move for kidnapping Mazi Nnamdi Kanu in 2021 by the Kenyan cabals, which I don't call government because they are not what to be called government. If somebody will be kidnapped, a tourist, this is not just, when we talk about it, the scary part of it is that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was a tourist which supposed to be protected in the land of Kenya, but because of compromised individuals in the so-called, they call it security operatives, that collected money from Nigeria. Of course, so many of you are familiar with what Nigeria can do, with regards to lies and deceit. You will know about it. If you recall back in 2020, Lekki Tollgate massacre, when their media, whoever, Eli Mohammed came and said that it was there was no shooting, that all these things you saw was a lie. The bullet you saw there was not bullet, rather it was a toy. So these are the things that you need to put together to understand that you don't need even to go, you don't even need to do anything extraordinary to find out the violation of human rights activities in Nigeria, and to also know that the extraordinary rendition, there is no extradition treaty document that is made available. Of course, the Kenya said that from the beginning that they were not aware that technically that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the one you know as Mr. Kanu, is still in Kenya. So, and he is being tried in Nigeria. How did he get there? Because according to international law, if there is anybody declared a fugitive, there must be something called what do you call it? To repatriate that person, you need to have that treaty between the both countries that are involved, which was going to enable Nigeria to extradite Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the one you popularly know as Mr. Kanu, to extradite him to Nigeria, which was not the case. Rather, and anybody that is supposed to be extradited to another country is not supposed to be kidnapped, tortured, and for 8 days out of the book, because anybody that is supposed to be extradited from one country to another, I believe that person still have a right until proven. So I don't see the reason why they have to kidnap him off the book. They have to place him in an apartment of the book. The apartment is not a government registered security facility. So these things entails that this was a case of kidnapping, torturing, extorting, and now extraordinarily rendition to Nigeria, and the torture continued to the highest order. Of course, so many times you find out he was not allowed to see his lawyers. They will tell you somebody traveled, somebody is not there. DSS want to intimidate whoever that want to represent Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. So, what am I trying to say? What I am trying to say is that there is nothing to investigate about further. If you people want every evidence, we have them, and our lawyers that made this move, I know that before they made this move, they will have a lot of evidence, and they have it in quantum that will enable them, that will back them up in order before they make this move. And with the activities of these Nigeria cabals against the indigenous people of Biafra, which Mazi Nnamdi Kanu goes up in order to protect, to make sure that the violation of their right is ceased to exist by Biafrans restoring their dignity in that area of sub-Saharan. And we want to go our separate ways. What lingered to this is because after the war, after the genocide rather, from 1967 till date, no one has been held accountable for the genocide of killing over 3.5 million women and children, the massacre. No war crime, no one is held accountable for war crime, because we know that the things that killed the children in that era, the things that killed the women and children was not only bullet, it was a chemical, and that chemical can only come from Europe with the help of Britain. They gave us a chemical that destroyed our women and children, and they made sure that they hide this news from the world, including Africa. People in Africa did not know about the war. This is war that they made sure that they killed 3.5 million women and children, and they suppressed the news from being open for people to access it. But today we brought it back because we are those whom they killed. From their remnant we came back to life, and that is the reason why we are going to get justice for these people. That's why Mazi Nnamdi rose up, because the injustices continued. Not when they say ceasefire. Nigeria never ceased fire, even though we ceased fire. Nigeria never ceased fire with the help of their British counterpart. They never ceased fire, and we've been lamenting and crying over this inhuman treatment, over this demonization of Biafra, over this extortion, over this killing extrajudiciously by, we might call those people that they are our people speaking the same language, but they are under the influence of power tussle. And this power tussle is, it is actually, provoked by British structure that we have in Nigeria, which gave this ethnic group called the Fulani the power to dictate, the power to lead army to any state that they want to lead army to, and the power to kill anybody that they want to kill, because when they place a person who is the chief security of that particular state, that person will be a ceremonial government that will not have anything to say. If not a ceremonial government, they will be part of the cabal, bloodthirsty, wicked leaders. That's what we have. Just like you see a few days ago, Hope Uzodinma and his creation of fraternity called a Bubago, they went in a place where people were having traditional marriage. Traditional marriage is the right of every African that they will do, the right that they must perform before they will, adopt every European ways of marriage, which we call white wedding. Traditional marriage is something that we do not play with. So when this traditional marriage is going on, I want you to understand that, when we talk about traditional marriage can consist of maybe only 20 people coming for the traditional marriage. It depends on the affordability of the family. Of course, you can see the background of the family. They are not able to to actually afford that sophisticated traditional marriage. That is the reason why this Ebubago, went there and they killed them and burned down the house, destroy everything, and came back to tell you that there was no traditional marriage there, because of course they believe that you will only believe that when you see a ribbon, balloons and everything, that you will know that there is tradition or marriage taking place. In our tradition, 5 or 10 people can organize a traditional marriage depending on what you can afford. So these are the conspiracies that they put together in order to cover their crime, and this crime is committed by the government of Nigeria. Who are they committing it against? The Biafrans, the one Mazi Nnamdi rose up to defend. And the reason why they made sure they silenced Mazi Nnamdi today, it is only because they want to carry this assignment of killing and dehumanizing and demonizing our people, impoverishing them without them having any other choice. When you hear about a lot of criminal activities going on in Biafra land, I can assure you they are all politically contrived, because this is true gangsterism. There is a lot of gangsterism that is going on in Biafra land, created by these politicians in order to use them to carry ballot balls. When they are done using them after election, these people will now use the firearms that they were given to commit all sort of crime. They don't care who get hurt, because these people, they have sold their soul. Of course, there is crime in every community, but in this regard, it is politically motivated and contrived. So what we are trying to say is that the crisis that is going on in Biafra land. It is an uprising, popular uprising that is going on in Biafra land, that is politically motivated. Just like, you know, if I am a family of these 14 able-bodied men, some of them are dads, some of them are uncle, some of them are brother, some of them they are all sons to a woman, and they are all brothers to a man. So if I am part of these people, don't you think psychologically, if they are the breadwinners of these homes, that they have no other choice? The young people, just like you can see the statistics of unemployment in Nigeria, 33%, according to the numbers that they have released. But you know that those numbers, they lie, because according to, if you check it on the ground, what is actually going on, you will find out that the statistics might be underreported, because what we are seeing, young people looking for money, because what do you know? Of course, you European world, you know what triggers criminality, in countries. It is unemployment, lack of provision to assess, you know, benefit, lack of, you know, you cannot benefit anything from this government that you know, that you gave employment by going to ballot box and voting for them, because they know that Nigeria, they do not believe in ballot box system, they believe in election rigging. That is the reason why they don't care about those that they are calling today to get their PVC. And the most important part of it, how you will able to analyze this information that I am giving to you, or ingest this information that I am passing to you, is that Hope Uzodinma was not voted in. He was the fourth candidate, but the Supreme Court placed him in power, and today he is wreaking havoc. He is not even leading the place where he is called a governor. He never comes there. He stays in federal capital, leading the people in Imo State. And he was in the federal capital to come and tell you it was the DSS who carried out the killing, the massacre of extrajudicial killing of 14 able-bodied young men who were returning from wedding. And you tell me that Hope Uzodinma will know? He said it was the DSS, and according to the statistics and according to the investigation that was carried out in the crime scene, what you saw there is cartridges. You don't see, because the last time we checked, the DSS, they use Glock as ammunition. The weapon they use, an AK-47 that is covered with a casing. And the Ebubagu, the one that that killed these people, which Hope Uzodinma wanted to shift the blame, from Abuja. He did not go to the ground to investigate by himself as a chief security of the state. He reported from Abuja, telling you that is the incompetence of a sitting governor. That is the type of leaders that we are having in Nigeria. Do you know the reason why Britain saw it or deemed it very necessary to impeach or force their prime minister to resign? Because he is bringing a security and economic threat to the nation of Britain, and that is the reason why he was forced to resign. But in Nigeria, it is something different altogether, because when you are a killing machine, you have the right to stay there. When you are when you are exploiting those who allegedly voted for you, you have the right to stay there. When you are destroying the nation, embezzling the money, just like you may all know that Hope Uzodinma is wearing a watch that is almost $1 million, but there is no good road in his state. There is no steady electricity in his state. No one is held accountable with regards to what is happening in Nigeria. So I am calling on United Nations, because we have, over these years and months that we have been reporting, following up, reporting, both on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, in every possible media platform. we have been, advocating for people to be saved in Nigeria because we say Black Lives Matter. It is not only Black life in the USA that matters, or in Europe that matters. Black lives in Africa, they matter. I know that you may argue that it is the same black people that are killing black people, because if you guys are quiet, we will assume that you guys are now discriminating who is the perpetrator of these criminal activities, that it is black against the black, and which is not properly addressed. That is the reason why these things continue to happen, because this black against the black, there is no smoke without fire. You people should go in deeper and further and investigate what triggers this black against the black in Africa as at large that are killing each other. It is psychologically what colonial impact did to our people, or is it what? So these things, they need to be looked into to know what is going on, because if you look at people in the likes of Hope Uzodimma, you will understand that psychologically he is not okay. If you look at people in the likes of Dave Umahi, you will understand psychologically these people are not okay. If there will be a chief security, but they cannot safeguard the people that gave him the authority to preside over their lives, that means that psychologically there is something or maybe fundamentally wrong with them. So all these things need to put into consideration and investigate these people whom we call our leaders in Africa. Is something, are they okay? Because they are all leading us into the ditch. They are all leading us into destruction, and we have been killed, we have been maimed, we have been displaced. Nigeria practice terrorism, and which is the reason why people are skeptical about 2023, whether it is going to happen, whether it is going to be another, or whether it is going to be Islamic declaration in Nigeria. So that is exactly what there is no time of certainty in Nigeria prior to the time of those so-called glorified independence. There is never a time of certainty. Whenever you think about Nigeria, it is a time. You think about uncertain things happening, because now you can see, of course, where family that traveled to Nigeria, they were kidnapped, and when they were kidnapped, they traveled miles and miles. There were no presence of security, operatives that were seen, and they were now raped. They were tortured. Every activities of these terrorists, they were not challenged by Nigeria securities. And the same thing pushed me back to a child that was abducted by the Department of State, DSS in Imo State, which who reside in Abuja, but a governor of Imo State. He reside permanently in Abuja, but a governor of Imo State, wearing watches of almost $1 million. Now he is telling you that the small child that was kidnapped by the Department of State in Nigeria, that child was a girlfriend to one of the bandits. Okay, let me now ask United Nations, the right of any child, be it a criminal or who, and where those children are supposed to be kept. Let's assume, or let's play a devil advocate by agreeing with Hope Uzodimma for a second that this less than 15-year-old child is a girlfriend to a bandit. Okay, is a girlfriend to a bandit, so that gave them the right to abduct this child, place this child in a holding cell where adults are kept in. Does it mean there is no juvenile cell in Nigeria? Does it mean there is no juvenile court in Nigeria that's supposed to preside over the case of this small child? That to the extent, that we got the news that the child fell pregnant in the custody, is that not violation of human rights in the highest order? So, because You know, everybody has a right until proven guilty in a court of law, but no one has a right in Nigeria, because police is the court of law. Police will catch you, they will judge you, they will condemn you to death. That is the reason why you see a lot of killing in Biafra land, because when you have a type of hairstyle, you are a criminal and you will be shot aside by the police and the DSS, and coupled with the fraternity that they have brought up in the likes of Ebubago. These are killing machines. The reason why the leaders are killing our people is to make sure that they reduce the population. They reduce the population, and while reducing the population, intimidating the population, no one will have the right, no one will have the temerity to stand up and challenge the system. And that is the reason why they are brutally murdering our people. They are extrajudiciously killing our people, so that no one will rise up tomorrow to challenge them, and they will continue to exploit. They will continue to do whatever they want with our lives, because the last time I checked, there is no human right in Nigeria. There is no human right in Nigeria. Nigeria is a lawless country. It is not a conspiracy. It is a fact. And if you doubt that it is a fact, I want the intelligence, send a black child. Don't send a European. Okay, even if it is European, send a black child to the street of Nigeria. Let them go to a crime around within where there is a crime taking place, within the area where a crime took place, you know, before police arrives. You will find them being on the other side of the law. They will spend their years because they were found within the vicinity where a crime occurred. The reason why they will be taken into custody, they will be taken into custody because they are seen to be the criminal, the perpetrators. Because now Nigeria system believe that whoever that is found around a crime scene is a criminal and must be prosecuted. Some of them will be shot at sight. That is how the Nigeria play. And if you doubt it, make your inquiries, make your investigation. First of all, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, what is the reason why he is still in custody today? He is in custody because he is a human rights advocate. That is the reason why he is still in custody today. He is in custody because Nigeria want to rig an election and they declare Islamic State in Nigeria. So if if you people are against what Iran is planning against the Israelis, and you are not against what Fulani is planning against Biafrans and every other indigenous people of Nigeria, it means there is an injustice that is there. Because I know the last time I checked, Iran is being blocked from building or manufacturing a nuclear weapon because they are going to use it wrongly according to their belief system. And the same belief system is impoverishing us in Nigeria. The same offspring of these people are the same people using their jihadist knowledge to destroy and kill us, because majority of us are called the Christian. And the last time I checked, Christianity is what the Europeans brought to us, and they brought this Christianity to us. People who does not believe in the European way were handed power by the same European, Britain, to rule over the same people. You gave this Christianity, and they are killing you in the name that you are Christian, and they now want to impose their Islamist, because just like our leader will always say that Muslim, they believe in expansion of their faith. They believe that to expand their faith, you should go through, conquest, war, and
that is how they will be able to, expand their gospel. Their gospel expansion must go through war, go through, what I called, crusade. They must go through crusade before they will expand their faith or their gospel. But according to the Christianity, you go through convincing people, preaching to them, give them every reason to believe that Jesus Christ is the Lord. But according to these same people that you people are doing everything to block in Iran, the same people that are killing us. So is it not injustice that you people are taking so long to respond? Had it been they succeeded in transferring Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to Kuje prison when they proposed, do you know what was going to be what is going to happen? Or whatever you people are saying today, it is going to be medicine after death. I believe that all these structures in the likes of United Nations, all these structures in the likes of European Union, all of them knowing that you have your grip and you have your fair share in the economy of Africa, that people supposed to be proactive. This is what is called, it is not about politics, it is about humanity. You should be proactive, knowing that the people you left our lives in their hands, they are all greedy dogs. You should be proactive in defending human rights, at least. But that is not the case. That is the reason why we die in mass. That is the reason why 1967 was a time that our people will live to remember, because of that tragic moment. A moment where parents were feeding their children a breast milk that it looks like they are sucking on the blood of their parents, the children. The moment where our children become like improper fraction, big head, big stomach, tiny legs. This was the moment that occurred in our lives, and that moment is the moment that you people expect that we will forget so easily. We cannot forget, because what these people suffered for was for freedom of the nation. And that freedom of the nation of Biafra is the same thing that we are here calling for that freedom to come. But ever since that freedom is not coming, our people is dying, because those who believe that we were used, remember that our economy was used to solve the budget deficit of the northern region of Nigeria. So today, instead of them treating us great, treating us good, for us solving their poverty, for us using, for the governor of the protectorate in the likes of Lugard, using our resources to solve their budget deficit, which triggered the amalgamation of 1914. Instead of them appreciating us, they are not doing so. Rather, they are killing us. And they are killing us, believing that killing us will stop the agitation. They want to stop an ideology with guns and bullets and force. And that is not the case. That is not the case. And with the help of Britain, they did it in 1967. And today, we know that the world has integrated into 4IR, where everything will be brought to open. There is nothing that is done in secret this time around. And that's what gives us, the strength to continue to agitate, to continue to expose, because we are all terrified. in Nigeria, we are all terrified. Every man in Nigeria need help. We can never heal because we've been going through traumatic events, traumatic moment. I remember that time when I was growing up, I was always scared. What is going to happen? Am I going to see a dead body on the street? Am I going to see people who died and vulture is eating their dead body? In Nigeria, I was always traumatized as a kid, to the extent that when I grew up, I started looking for psychological help, because I was traumatized as a kid in Nigeria. I was taken into detention at the age less than 18 years old when I was in Nigeria. That is the reason why I am feeling it when I heard that the small child went through this and eventually fell pregnant while at it, because I know this is what Nigeria does. It happened to me, and I know. And while I was in detention, what actually kept me going was I saw a 15 years old, sitting the same place I was sitting. I committed no crime. I was just around where they said there was a crime scene, which I did not even know that there was a crime scene within that vicinity. I was taken. If you go to Nigeria today, you ask people what is the meaning of I follow and I no follow, then they will tell you the meaning of I follow and I no follow. That is the reason why we will continue to agitate. We are not stopping. Not now, not anytime soon. We are not stopping, because we need our freedom. We need to be assured that, tomorrow if we say that there is a killing in our land, we will know where it is coming from. 200 million people is too much for one man to be their leader in Africa, because there is something called self-hate, and self-hate came after the colonialism. That is one of the effects of colonialism. So if Europeans are actually, remorseful of what they did to us, they should understand that they instilled self-hate on us. And that is the reason why 200 million people is too big for one man who does not even like himself. And you want this person to like 200 million people. It is not possible. And that is the reason why we are calling on our sovereignty. We are calling for the restoration of our sovereignty, the way we were as God created us. It is not a crime. If you go to the ancient map of Africa, you will never find what is called Nigeria there. The only thing you are going to find there, you will find where they talked about Afiri. Afiri was when the Portuguese or French people named this continent. From Afiri, it triggers to Africa. From there, many names started coming up. Nigeria was never involved. So, and most of the region, they name it Bight of Biafra. So, if you look at those maps, you will find out that Nigeria is just a creation of 1 century, which must be abolished, because that creation is the worst thing that happened to black people in Africa, which is going to continue to impoverish people who found themselves in that structure. We are not calling to disengage from our African people, or we are not calling for for breakup of any nation, but we are calling for our identity to be restored, for us to go back to what we were as God made us to be, so that we will champion our tradition, we will champion our identity without nobody intimidating us, believing in what we are born to believe in. So that is exactly what we are calling for. If they do it in peaceful way, that is going to favor every other person, because we are not violent people. We are peace-loving people. You have heard our leader saying it over and over again. So many times he said, we are peace-loving people, and we will continue. We are peace-loving people, and we will continue to be peace-loving people. We will never violate any right of any country. But let me remind you, I saw this article or this post on social media, because we are bringing this program to an end. I am going to make you laugh with some of my skills because we cannot continue to cry. We can actually laugh sometimes. There is this Lucky the Bear article somebody posted, and he said that this exactly represents Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, and I agree with that person. And it talks about freedom fighter. It talks about freedom fighting. Let me see if I will be able to read it out before we call it a day, because this is the news that I just came around to break for you, and we have done it. We did it, so we will actually, let me read this before we continue, or before we call it a day. Let me see how it is read, or how it is presented. Just one moment. One moment. Let me see if I will even bring it to the screen, because I have it here. Before we proceed, damn, this is hanging. Hold on for me one moment. Let us celebrate our leader. Not this one. Okay, I think I found what I was looking for. Now, let's smile a little bit before we call it a day. I saw this post. Let me bring it to you. Window capture.
Image slide, window capture. Display capture. Oh, it will not enable me to bring it to the screen. It will not enable me to bring it to the screen because it's a photo. Oh, okay, let me bring it as a photo. Let's from desktop document. Okay, this is it. This is the. It is. I saw this, and it's quite amazing. It is quite amazing. Freedom fighters. You know, it talks about Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. This is actually exact same thing. This is exact same thing that you know, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is doing. You know, when they talk about yeah, this is it. And the time immediately when I saw this, you know, it caught my attention. I said to myself, this is it, and that is the truth, you know. And if we let's just make it a little bit of you know, we can actually remind ourselves that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is our hero. And let's sing it. The nation. For the love of the nation. So great Biafrans all over the world, wonderful people. Of course, you heard the breaking news, and it is actually making me so happy. That is the reason why I decided to show you my small skills of taking chances in trying to sing, but I am still better than that one who is hiding his face in the likes of Biafra Unite. But for now, we are going to call it a day. Thank you for coming by, and until we meet again, stay safe, stay informed, because we might be bringing you more good news. We might be bringing you more good news, and we have to start pushing and making sure that United Nations and its allies and the world leaders, world powers will not grow complicit with regards to this mission that they have started embarking on, because we are Biafrans. We do not forget, we do not relent, we do not give up, we are resilient, and we will continue to be until Biafra come, and we will continue to be it and fix our nation, and our nation will be like the nations that we run to in Europe and better than them, and we will recognize our greatness that is all over the world, and we are going to bring them, because they will come and help us in nation building, and we will recognize human rights. We will make sure that what we went through in Nigeria is not going to continue again in our land. We will also recognize treaties, relations, you know, we will recognize them all, because we are peace-loving people. We love people. That's why we are everywhere around the world. We do not discriminate. Whenever you see us rising up to complain,
you should know that it is already here on our throat. We can't take it no more. We are saturated with this killing, traumatic event and all that we have experienced over the years, and it will not continue to happen, because there are some structures and channels that are supposed to see to it, that is supposed to be proactive, and we are calling on them to do their job. But for now, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu must be released, and it must be done unconditionally, and the date of referendum should be announced, because what we want is Biafra. We are not involved in politics of Nigeria, which is part of the reason why they are keeping him there, because Nigeria does not believe in equity, fairness. Inequality is what they promote every day. But for now, bye bye.